Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 20th lecture of Relay Center course. We are currently in fourth module and we are discussing coupling. In the previous lecture, we saw that we saw an approach for generalization of the differential equations. We represent differential equations so that we can represent a general case of coupled interconnects by a matrix formulation. And then by taking the case of two interconnects, two identical interconnects, and with our knowledge of the previous analysis on coupled identical interconnects, we saw that decoupling of equations is equivalent to diagonalization of your coupling matrix. In this lecture, we will apply the generalized formulation of coupled interconnects for RLC interconnects. So we will be also considering the inductive effects in this lecture, and we'll see how that matrix formulation helps us simplify the analysis. Then we will continue the analysis for two coupled identical interconnects. We will build a background for a more general approach of decoupling of non-identical interconnects for the next. So with that, let us start today's lecture. So we have seen in the previous lecture that if there are two interconnects, they can be coupled capacitively. However, in general, they can also be coupled by inductance also. So the electric flux of the first interconnect would be also be linked to, sorry, the magnetic flux of the first interconnect would be linked to the second interconnect as well, and similarly the magnetic flux due to the current in the second interconnect will be linked to the first. So these two are interconnects. Even though I am talking about RLC interconnects, please don't confuse this with the conductor and the ground planes type of things. This is one interconnect. So call it one. This interconnect has some resistance per unit length R1, inductance per unit length L1, and capacitance per unit length C1. And then I have the second interconnect, which is R2. There's a resistance per unit length R2, inductance per unit length L2, and capacitance per unit length. Then these two are coupled by the electric field coupling gives us this capacitance, coupling capacitance. Electric field, and then there is also, because of the current flowing here, there would be some there would be some magnetic flux linked to it, that would be also be linked to conductor, and because of that you would get um, mutual inductance between. This is very similar to what happens in a transformer. The transformers are uh, the transformer windings are engineered such that this mutual inductive coupling is enhanced. Here we don't actually want that, but nevertheless it is there. So now what we want to do is that we want to find the differential equations uh, governing the voltages and currents in scenario. So we have done this practice quite a lot. So I will directly come to the part of differential equation. So we start in similar way. We start with some infinitesimal segment, and we write the in the delta x tending to 0 limit, we get the differential equation. But by this time it should be clear to you that how do we get these equations. So the first term here is variation in voltage, and then this is also current of first inductor, and then this is the, so if there is a variation in so if there is a positive increment in current with respect to time, then there would be an opposition to that. Because of that, there would be a back EMF generated in this, and that comes as a negative sign in. We have seen this part. Now there is an additional term here, which is yeah, there is an additional term here which is dependent on current 2. So what it means is that the change in current 2 also induces some EMF on the first interconnect, and then that is given by, and that coefficient of that is given by the mutual inductance. I am writing this as M. In some of the papers you will find this find it to be written as L12. So L12 would be equal to M. Some of the papers you will find L12 written for same thing. So this is the first equation. Okay, let me also start numbering these. So let this be 1. Then similarly for the current also you can write, this is for the first interconnect, this is for interconnect 1. So for current also you can write this similar equation, number this as equation 2. So your current on the first interconnect depends on the voltage on your first interconnect as well as the uh, voltage on the second interconnect, and we had seen this equation is the same as the one we got for coupled capacitively coupled interconnect. So you must be familiar with this equation. We had derived this one. Right. So similarly we can write this for that it is recommended that you check these equations on your own. Don't take these equations for what I have just written. You should definitely check these equations. So similarly for the second interconnect also we can write these sets of equations equal to sign. Let me number this is 2, this is 3, 4. Right. So you have these 1 2 3 4 equations. Now what you want to do is you want to eliminate current or currents from these equations. So in case of a simple single single RLC interconnect, what did we do? We differentiated this equation with respect to x. I got double d2i1 divided by del del x del t, and then I differentiated this equation with respect to time, and then I substituted it here, and I got the simple equation. But now it becomes a bit more complicated, because once you differentiate this with respect to x, you will also get a derivative of the current 2 in this current derivative of I2 in this equation. So for that you will have to use this equation 4, and take its time derivative and substitute that here. And similarly, when you differentiate this with respect to time, you will get a term of V2 as well, that will also come in, right. So this V2 term will also come in here. I would strongly recommend you that you stop this video and eliminate the currents from these equations. So you will get two equations. one equation, so you'll two equations, one both the equations will have terms of v1 and v2. So I've simply written these equations. So from the first from equation 1, if in equation 1 if we eliminate current, we get an equation like this. So let me call this 4 and 5. So yeah, so here you can take a look at what are the terms here. So this is my voltage on the first interconnect, this is the voltage on first interconnect, this is the voltage on my second interconnect, the coupling capacitance, then this thing is the voltage on my first interconnect, but then I also have a term like this here, mutual terms here. Then I have uh, this thing, and here there is a mutual in term, here there is a mutual term, here there is a, here also there, here also there. So if you look at this, this is a very complicated, appears to be a very complicated equation. Similarly, you can write for equation 2 that this would be for the interconnect 2, and this also the interconnect 2, but then right. So you can solve this. I think there's a, yeah, there's a point term missing. Yeah, there would be, well, this would be also first interconnect. So you will see that these two set of equations appear to be quite complicated, and uh, it really appears to be difficult to solve them. And note that this is just the case of two interconnects. When you have more interconnects, more coupling interconnects, so suppose there are, you have say 4 or say 5 interconnects, and say at a time, or say one interconnect, each interconnect out of those 5 is coupled to 3 others. So in that case it becomes even more difficult to handle this problem. However, if we recall our analysis, or say the matrix formulation which we studied in the last lecture, the handling of these equations becomes a lot more easier. So what we will now do is that we will apply the analysis which we derived in the previous lecture for matrix formulation, and use it to represent these equations. So let us look at how that turns out. So let me see what these equations. 5, 6, so this was my first equation, was my equation 1, and then this was my equation 3, if you look at it. So my voltage, I can, this equation I can write like this. So sum comes here, right? Then my, this term comes here, R minus R1 into I1. Then my L term comes here, and then there is a time derivative here. My mutual comes here, and this is dependent on I2, right? Similarly, if I look at this, there is a minus. So if I now look at this thing, similarly I can relate this part here, and then my R2 goes here, right, and my L1, sorry, L2 comes here, this subscription is, and this mutual comes here. If you can check this, and this will all turn out matching, right? So this is one, and right, so we get this equation. Similarly, I can write the equation 2 and equation 4 as this. So let me call this as, this was 6, call this 7, 8. So my, I can similarly correlate this. So for example, I can get this current here, then my capacitor goes here, right, my goes here. So there is a minus sign here, so a minus sign comes here because there was a plus CC. Minus sign is outside and minus sign is transmit, right. Similarly, I can write my I2, and this will be my plus CC, my plus CC, minus sign. And now to represent these equations, if I just define column vectors, so V is 2 cross 1 in this case, so I write this as V1, V2, and this is also 2 cross 1, so I write this as 2, sorry, I1, I2. So I can define my new sets of matrices. So here the first term here, this becomes L matrix, which is inductance matrix. Then this is capacitance matrix. If you recall, this is the same capacitance matrix which we had got for the case of two interconnects in the previous lecture when we were developing this matrix formulation. So this is the same equation, uh, uh, and then you have this R matrix, which is simply R1 0 0, right. So then I can write these equations simply in a very compact way. Is 9. My, this entire equation is represented here, and this is, so this is my voltage equation, and this is my current equation. But voltage, I mean the space derivative of voltage and the space derivative of current. Now even if there are say 10 interconnects which are coupled, I can handle all of them by defining appropriate matrices of appropriate order, and I can just represent them by the same set of equations. So my equations don't change, only the size of my matrices and the column vectors. So now if I want to eliminate I from here, it becomes a lot more simpler. So if I want to I, which is 2 cross 1, so please don't confuse this with a matrix, this is actually a column vector. I from 9 and 10. So you now you double differentiate with respect to x, that thing you substitute it here, and finally you will get a very nice and a familiar looking equation, is right. So this is your LC, so it's same thing, L into C and RC. So you had a similar, if you want to compare it with your RLC interconnect equation, you had this as LC del V del 2V by del T square plus RC. Now let us look at, so this formulation would be a general case, and this would hold for a lot more coupled interconnects. Now let us come back to the case, special case of identical RLC interconnects. So what you have is R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R, and C1 is equal to C2 is equal to C, and yeah, and then there is a mutual coupling. So what you have is that your R, L and C matrices can be reduced like this. Now for this case, let us see what we get. So we had seen that if you have identical interconnects, we can do a common mode differential mode, common mode and mode analysis. So in that analysis, what we did, I mean, we also discussed this in the last lecture in terms of matrices, is that we defined a new set of uh, voltages, which was the common mode and V differential mode, and we got V by a transformation matrix like this operating on. For the case of common mode and differential mode, we saw that my T matrix comes out to be, and we had so we had seen that if I have a T matrix like this, and if I have an RC coupled interconnect, in that case my this transformation was equivalent to diagonalizing my RC matrix. So it was equivalent to diagonalizing my RC matrix. So let us see what this means when there is an inductive term as well. So as I said, we can define new sets of voltages V, Cm, Vdm, and then if you make this transformation act on V, you will get this relationship. Similarly, T inverse can be written like this, and V can be retrieved from your by operating T inverse on V tilde. Now if I just substitute this V in equation so this was my equation 10, then let this call this 11, and then let me call this as, so substituting from 11, 12, if I substitute it here, I will get something like this. This T inverse will go on this side as a multiplying term of T, and this is what you will get, right? So the question is that what is LC tilde and RC tilde? So this is your new thing. So this is your LC tilde, where LC is, what is LC? L in C, and your RC matrix R. So with this T which we have defined on previous slide, can you derive LC tilde and RC tilde? RC tilde will come out to be the same, and this we have done in the previous lecture. Now if you solve for LC tilde, you will get an LC matrix. First you find out what is LC. So first you find out what is LC. You know what is L, you know what is C, you multiply them, you will get LC. Then you apply this diagonalization on this, and you will get a term like this. right? So you will get an LC tilde, and you can see that this is also a diagonal. So your RC tilde becomes diagonal, your LC tilde becomes diagonal. And now if you write the differential equation for these diagonalized matrices, you can see that they are decoupled. So and if you assume a time harmonic solution, you will get an expression matrix equation like this. Note that this is one term, this is the second diagonal term. Of diagonal terms are 0. So what you are getting essentially is so this is common mode voltage, and this is the differential mode voltage, and they both are decoupled, and you get a very familiar equation of this form. You can define the propagation constant gamma Cm this, and gamma differential mode is this, right? So there would be a minus sign here. You can see there is some inference which you can take out of this. So this appears to be the new inductance, and the capacitance remains C. So this is the new inductance, remains the same. And similarly here, this is the new capacitance, and this differential mode capacitance is the same as the one we got for the RC interface, and L minus M uh, seems to be the this new inductance. You can rearrange them, and you will get two different propagation constant for two interconnects. Basically what you have done is that you had two coupled RLC interconnects. There was capacitive coupling, and then there was also a mutual coupling. Now that is equivalent, you can represent them as two decoupled interconnects. One of them is common mode, the other one is differential mode. The common mode interconnect has parameters RC. The RC remains the same, but your inductance become L plus M. This is the main difference. For the second case, where you have a differential mode interconnect, then you have R remains the same. Your capacitance has now changed to C plus 2 Cc, and your inductance has now changed to L minus M. So these two are decoupled lines. Earlier they were coupled lines, you have decoupled them. You can solve them independently. And then again transform back the solution in the physical voltages. Very similar to what we did for the case of coupled RC. So now once you have these two interconnects, you can define all other properties. So you can have characteristic impedance of your common mode and differential mode. So you have characteristic impedance of common mode and differential mode. The only difference is that now you are with inductance, you replace this by L plus M. Capacitance remains with C. Your in the second case, you have L minus M and C plus 2 C. And then all the analysis which we did for a single RLC interconnect would hold true for these individual interconnects. Once you solve the equations, you can then transform back. So for example, you can get V out of common mode as HCM into I in CM of this for the common mode case, and similarly for the differential mode you can do that. You can again write these things in terms of like an equation, right? If you want to write these things in equation, you will have HCM like this, HCM HDM, right? Once you have written it like this, you can again transform back. So basically what you have is V out tilde. So this is your V out tilde matrix, and this is your V in tilde matrix, and this is a diagonal matrix. Now you can back substitute this v out tilde in terms of v, and v in tilde in terms of v in, and once you substitute it, you will get the transfer equation like this. And if you notice here, this will not be a diagonal matrix. So I would strongly recommend that you use the T matrix which we have defined earlier, and then use this HCM and HDM matrix, and then try to find out what is this matrix. So this is your H matrix. So your V out equal to H into V in. So what is this? And this is important because this will tell you what would be your transfer characteristics, and this will also help you characterize the crosstalk noise. So I would again strongly recommend you to please pause the video and derive this on your own. Here I am giving you the answer straight away. If you do these operations, finally you will get something like this. Now if I'm interested in crosstalk, what I'm actually looking at. So basically, what is crosstalk? So what is my crosstalk? My crosstalk is V out of 1, which is I have two interconnects, right? So here I am giving a 0 input, and then here I am giving some V in 2. So my crosstalk would be, here there is 0. So the crosstalk would be whatever comes out at this point, so when there is a coupling between these two. From here to here, what will be the coupled noise, coupled signal? So that would be V out 1 is equal to V in 1 is 0. So my V in 1 is 0. So my V out 1 is HCM minus HDM by 2 into V in, right? So with on that basis, I can define my crosstalk noise, V noise of omega, as this. This also helps me characterize the crosstalk noise. So we are done with the main content of this lecture here. If you have not written these things down on your own, and if you have not derived this on your own, please do so immediately, because this is very important. And if you don't do the derivations now, it will become very difficult to understand how the terms get arranged in a practical scenario. The remaining part of this lecture, in the next say 2 minutes, I would be discussing some of the papers which use this formulation which we have discussed. The first paper that I want to refer you to is by Fredman. So we have already referred to lot many papers by A.B.G. Fredman. This is another one. This is from conference. This is from 2004. And this paper talks about the crosstalk noise, and also the decoupling technique for this crosstalk analysis, coupled RLC interconnect. Basically, this is what they have. They have considered identical interconnects, as we have done. So you can look at this figure. There is a coupling, mutual coupling LM, and then there is a CC, capacitive coupling, and inductive. In this paper, if you look at the equation, so you can see this type of equations. So theta 1, theta 2, we have derived these equations, right? So in terms of S was j omega c, so S was omega, so S c is j omega j omega into C, right? So note that Cg is the this capacitance between ground, conductor to ground. You can see terms like this L minus Lm for one of the characteristic impedances, and then for the other is L plus Lm. For this case, the capacitance is this, and we have derived these equations in this lecture. So when you read this paper now, you should be able to understand what is the origin of these equations. Then you can also see matrix like this. We have just now derived this matrix. This is this matrix. We are calling this as 1 and 2. I mean, the subscript here is 1 and 2, but basically it's common mode and difference mode. And then you can see that these are your H matrices, where there are terms like Z01, Z02, these they come from, and we had derived these equations also for when we were discussing the RLC interconnect. So with the understanding of inductive interconnects and the coupling analysis which we have seen, you should be able to look into this. So very interestingly, they talk about this crosstalk noise, and this is the noise in the frequency domain. So basically in terms of omega, so this is not in time domain, this is frequency domain noise. So this you should keep in mind. So this is in frequency domain. Right, so this is what we have also seen. And then you have these decoupled interconnects, and so basically you can just do an analysis in here, and you will get, you subtract the two noises and you will get the input. You can find what would be your right. Then the next paper I want to refer to you, I want to refer is is a very old paper. That is from 1982. But you can see the title, an analysis of interconnect line capacitance and coupling for VLSI circuits. So way back in 1982, people had started exploring the effects of coupling in VLSI circuits. So in this paper you can see some schematics also. There is this oxide, and then there are these interconnects. Then there is this is only P is only when there is coupled capacitor model, and this is a coupled transmission line model. So there is L12 also, these two. You can also see that they also do this even mode and odd mode analysis. It's the same as the common mode and the differential mode in case of I. Then the next paper I want to refer to is from 2002. It's in IEEE transactions electron devices. The paper is on coupled line transient expressions and peak crosstalk in multi-level interconnect. Basically they are also talking about the same thing, but here you can see there are three interconnects now, and if you look at this RLC partial differential equations, this should be now familiar to you, right? So this is only for the case of capacitive coupling. I mean, the first term is for capacitive coupling, R into capacitive coupling, and then there is a term of inductance. This is your L matrix, and this is your P matrix. There is double derivative with respect. So here they again assume identical interconnects, and they also make another simplification that the voltage on this 1 and 3 is the same. And then so there are two voltages. So there is V out here, V out here, and this is inside, and they form two equations like this. And you can see that they again do some arrangement. So also 22 is identical to 24, and therefore two independent equations are 22 and 23. To decouple these equations, first add 23 to twice 22, which leads to this equation. Also consider the difference of 23 and 22, which gives you this equation. So you have two different voltages now defined, V sum and V difference, like this, and then they become decoupled, and basically they solve this decoupled case. This is a very elaborate paper. I have not gone through all aspects of this paper, but very interestingly, this paper is from 2000. But then they talk about 3G global bus example for 2012. So for 2012, they were predicting some clock speeds, and also they say that chip area of 13 centimeters square, global clock frequency of 3 gigahertz. So they were taking these parameters and doing some, also another interesting thing to explore further. And then there is one more recent paper. This is from 2016, and this talks about ways to, or one of the way to handle this decoupling, or say to mitigate this crosstalk noise. So here they talk about putting a decoupling capacitor. They have these two these lines. Again, you can see the terms, familiar terms here, L plus Lm, L minus Lm, and then there is 2 CS2 Cm, like this. Here also you can see equations. Here V1 is the velocity, TD is basically time of flight, because this is your velocity, and L is the length of your interconnect. So length divided by VE1 gives you TD-E1. Then there is, and similarly you have V odd, TD odd. So these things now will make sense to you, that how suddenly they start writing this LS plus LM, and for odd case they start writing LS minus LM and T plus. So with this it will become clear, with this the theory which we have studied, it should become clear that how to deal with these papers. But in real scenario, the interconnects will not be identical, and the coupling will not be in case of just say two interconnects. There will be a lot more complications involved. So in the next lecture, we will see that what would be the general procedure that we should follow for diagonalizing a generalized coupling method. With that, I will stop here, and we'll meet in the next lecture. Good day.